Want to give that a shot?
Hey everybody, welcome back. My next guest is the best Rocky impersonator ever. He is the owner of the Yo Philly Rocky Film Tour and author of the book Cue the Rocky Music. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the almost Italian stallion himself, Mike Kunda. Mike, how you doing, man?
Yo, Don. I feel like a yo-yo today, you know?
I feel like that most of the time myself, my friend.
Crazy times, buddy. Crazy times. Hey, thanks for doing this little chat here, talking about all things Rocky that are kind of like just my favorite subjects, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And this is what's cool about it, because I love Rocky, and I've loved Rocky my whole life, but you really love Rocky. And and you know, taking on you know, the Rocky as a part of your life and your lifestyle. I think that's pretty cool in a way.
Thanks.
Yeah. So how do you think Rocky would have handled quarantine and handled the pandemic?
You know, Rocky was a loner by nature. Whenever we saw Rocky walking around, especially in the first one, he's walking around the streets of Philadelphia by himself. He has to go and do what he has to do, and then he goes and walks around by himself. I think Rocky would be okay with the mask when he has to go collect money. He'd mask up and then take it off and then go chase chickens.
That's awesome. I do want to explain to everybody who might not be familiar with you, who you are. I got to watch a little bit of The Pretender today.
Thank you.
Sometimes we don't know where Rocky ends and Mike begins.
Nothing ever held my focus. But when it comes to this, I feel like I could do anything.
Yeah, it's very fascinating glimpse into your life, and into your kind of your background and who you are, and also your kind of obsession with Rocky. It's been a lifelong, and Stallone. And I don't know how old you are, but I'm 49. And I think we kind of grew up in the same time period, because when Rocky and First Blood and Rambo and Cobra and all these movies of Stallone, I think everybody was running around pretending they were, you know, Rambo or trying to emulate Rocky. Yeah, so I think it was I think it was a generational thing.
I'm 52. I was born in 68.
Okay, yeah, I'm 71. So we're around the same age bracket. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. And so were a lot of kids at your time doing that as well? Like I was Indiana Jones, I was doing all of that stuff.
That's what they were doing. It was Luke Skywalker. It was Indiana Jones. Okay. Slightly after that, it was like Magnum PI, Chips. Remember Eric Estrada?
Yeah. Everybody wanted
John Baker and Frank Poncherello.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wanted to be Ponch and John from Chips.
Right.
No, nobody was wearing a gray sweatshirt in grease pencil Italian stallion on the back at 11. No one was doing this.
Right.
My problem was my heroes as a kid were always Zorro and the Lone Ranger. My dad was a tailor. He was a master tailor. We were very poor growing up, so he would make these costumes from stuff around the house. So imagine summer break from school, and I'm like 9, 10 years old, and I'm wearing a Zorro homemade costume in the summertime because I'm so insecure. I don't think people will like me. Nobody picks me to be on the baseball team. They don't want the weird kid. So my whole life has been a series of dress-ups. A psychiatrist could have a team. I mean, they could have a field day with me, really. But I think I finally found my path. And if you don't mind me saying, one of the words I hate is when people say obsession.
Right. Yeah, I knew that was kind of a kind of word. Yeah. That might be
I get it.
Right.
Outside looking in, I get it.
Coming around here. I'll go into all of this stuff a little bit later. Some of my collectibles down here.
Right.
For me, it's a passion. When I
Right.
hear the word obsession, I hear about Joey Smith who won't leave alone his ex-girlfriend, breaks into her house. It's a negative, okay?
Right.
So
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
for me, passion. Rocky has been such a force for good and security in my life. It's given me a career on the coattails of Sylvester Stallone to run these Rocky tours.
I'm very proud of that. Cheese! Cheese!
Yeah, I think the Rocky tours are cool. If anyone gets a chance, they should go. And if you're ever in the area to go to the Yo Philly Rocky Film Tour, I think that would be really cool for any Rocky fan. And it's also a pretty cool tour of Philly itself. You probably see some cool things that even if you're not a diehard Rocky fanatic.
We go everywhere. We hit a lot of the major neighborhoods and a lot of the neighborhoods that, like, you know, tourists don't go to, like Kensington. Kensington is where they filmed Mickey's Gym, where Rocky lived in his early apartment. And so it's quite a different atmosphere. And then we go down to Old City, Liberty Bell, Independence Square. That's where Independence Hall. That's where Rocky jumps the park bench, right in back of Independence Hall.
Right.
And then we go through South Philly, Italian Market, up through the cemetery, Laurel Hill, where Adrian and Paulie are buried. And we always end the tour punching our fists in the air at the top of the Rocky steps.
How many times have you ran those steps?
Seriously, I would say around 6,000 or 7,000 times.
Finding your passion, that's huge with me. What is it you love? What is it that motivates you? What makes you determined? Find your passion. Get out there and hit the bricks. That reminds me of a saying my grandfather used to say. Don't be a dick, hit the bricks.
Is there a Rocky culture? Like, is there other Rocky guys like you that impersonate Rocky, or is there competition, or what do you do? Do you guys get ranked?
Yeah, of course. So there's a gentleman named John Manforto. So I have to give John some props for leading the way. I take a little more realistic version of Rocky.
My mother, she would say to me, you know, what are you gonna do with yourself, Michael? What are you gonna do? There's nothing that just hit me that I wanted to do. I wanted to be Rocky. That's what I wanted to be.
John does more a characterization. Any drunk guy in a bar that, yo, hey, boy, you know.
Right.
John is very good at what he does, but John goes more comical. I take more of a walk right off the screen 76 type version Rocky.
Right.
You hear that? Yo, Adrian. Probably don't do as good as me, but you know.
You know, a little more accurate with the way Rocky talks and the way his hand gestures, more, you know, more stuff.
The voice.
Like that.
You have the voice down. Like you said, a lot of people, you know, do, hey, Adrian, I did it.
Yeah.
But you, if you close your eyes, it sounds exactly like him.
Look at this guy. Don't he look familiar? Huh? Hi. Look at these guys. They're having a great time here on the Yo Philly Rocky Film Tour.
I've become friends with Sly over the years. We've had many conversations. I was on the set of Balboa and both Creed movies, and Sly has shared a great deal of stories with me behind the scenes. What went into that original Rocky? Because I'm all about the minutia, the very small stuff that nobody thinks about on these Rocky movies. I crave that, okay? So Sly shared a lot of these stories with me. And one of the things that I never thought I looked or sounded like Rocky. And what he said to me, he goes, no, he goes, Mike, you have the mannerisms. And you see, that's the deal. You put the black hat on, you put the leather jacket on, and you're in Philadelphia, you curl your lip, you start moving like Rocky a little bit, okay? Now, it's like when you go to Vegas and you see an Elvis impersonator or a Dean Martin impersonator, you know they're dead, but for a moment, just a moment, you can be taken back to when Elvis was at his peak at the Riviera or any of the casinos out there. So that's what I try to do. I use props like the jacket and the hat, like I'm wearing right now, the burgundy dinner jacket, right? And the Dempsey shirt that he wears. I use props with my mannerisms, and hopefully I sell it.
Hey, you guys, be cool. Don't play the fool. Stay in school. Be a thinker. Carry a leather briefcase. I screwed up Apollo's lines.
What is it, would you say? Because I think Rocky is obviously a much deeper movie than just the boxing.
Of course.
What would you say makes Rocky so important, the movie? Or the
First,
character, yeah.
So first and foremost, it's a love story. The one thing I think that frustrates me and Sylvester is when people refer to it as a boxing movie. The last thing it is a boxing movie. It is a love story between two quote losers, who find each other and they become, what does Rock say? Phil Gush, And that's what happens. Emotionally, they become a champion. Together, there's nothing either one can't overcome. So where he makes her flower as a woman, she makes him go the distance in a way. But if you had to put it all to one scene, it's the night before the fight where Rocky goes to the arena and he comes home and he realizes he's a joke. The shorts are the wrong color and the Jurgens tells him, go home and get a good night's sleep, kid. Rocky realizes, no matter how many eggs I drink, no matter how many miles I run, or how many times Mickey tells me what to do, I'm never going to beat Apollo Creed. I'm never going to be the best in the world. But that's okay. Maybe I could be the best in my world. Maybe I'll never be champion, but I could be champion with me, with Adrian, with Paulie. Maybe that's enough. And that's the thing, Don. We all go to work every day. If you work in corporate America, you're never going to own the company, but maybe you could be the best version. Maybe you become a manager of a territory. Maybe that's good enough. Maybe it isn't for some people. I think overcoming adversity and going past unrealized dreams is something everyone on the planet can relate to.
Yeah, I think all of us kind of feel like the underdog most of the time. Yeah, and I think for Rocky, he's always inspired me, even to this day. Like, kind of looking through a lot of Rocky stuff, getting ready for you, and I'm watching all these scenes, and I pretty much watched all of Rocky 1 again. Because you can't stop.
Welcome to my day.
Yeah. But I do think that Rocky is an amazing story. I love, out of all the Rockies, I would say, and I'm going to ask you two to put them in order, sure, from your favorite to your least favorite. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure. So I would say Rocky 1, 2, Rocky Balboa, Rocky 3, Rocky 5, Rocky 4. 4 is always dead last for me.
Yeah, even below Rocky 4 was Drago, right? So even before, so Drago is lower than Tommy Gunn.
Yo, Tommy, what are you doing in the street, huh? No, it is. But here's why. Rocky 5 is a very flawed film. We'd all agree that. The difference is Rocky 5 has the fedora, the leather jacket, and it's on the streets of Philadelphia. There's a pathos there. Rocky 4, it's big 80s hair. It's the perfection of the physique. It's a lot of sweat, and it's a lot of music videos throughout the movie. I don't hate Rocky 4. It's just my least favorite of all the Rockies, and I believe that's why, as Sylvester has grown as a director and actor, writer, and producer, I believe that's why he is now recutting Rocky 4. And in November or next year, whenever, we're going to have a new version of Rocky 4.
If I can change,
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился сегодня.
and you can change,
Вы можете измениться.
everybody can change.
Каждый может измениться.
And my list is very similar to yours. Only I had 4 and 5 flipped. I guess I never liked Tommy Gunn, but I had the same thing. It's funny that you mentioned the physique because I like Rocky the way he was in Rocky 1.
Yeah,
and then,
me too.
And then in Rocky 3, which was at the time period of my life was the biggest Rocky with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. Sure. Yeah, and that was the one when I was completely fanned out. But through time, I realized, all right, Rocky 1 and Rocky 2 are like the epic, like real. And then Balboa kind of caps off. So if you only had Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and Balboa, that would be that's all you would need.
It's a trifecta.
Right, yeah.
You
And
know,
then
Don, I think at any point in our lives, we are all the sum total of our life experiences. So if Rocky IV, doing these tours, it's always Rocky 1 or Rocky 4. Those are the ones that really get the headlines from the fans. And I think that whatever your life experiences have been, you're going to gravitate differently. So if one person says Rocky 4 is their favorite, I would be a real jackass if I was like, Rocky 4, are you out of your brain? No, that's dumb. Because I don't know that person's life, right?
Right.
So their connection, and you can't invalidate that. You really have to say, okay, I get it. And you just move on with the conversation.
So now I want to just quickly ask you some Rocky trivia.
Sure, go ahead.
And then we'll do our big scene, our big Zoom theater scene, which I'm excited about. I didn't have a suit and tie to dress up like his son.
Okay.
But I did wear my gym clothes. As you can see, I'm in the middle of work. I'm working out. I'm getting ready to hit the heavy bag after this.
I could tell you're a very serious guy.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. We're going to ask you some Rocky trivia questions, all right? So, these should be a walk in the park for you here. So what is Rocky's full name?
So, Robert Balboa, which a lot of people don't know that. I actually didn't know that until I was on the set of Rocky Balboa. There was an award on the wall, and the plaque read, to Robert Rocky Balboa.
Very good.
Okay.
That is correct. And now, how long did it take Sylvester Stallone to write Rocky?
All right. So the answer is 3 days. Okay. But the real answer is months, because he had this idea about Rocky in his head that had been rolling around. But when he writes it for 3 days, it was the germ of the idea. Most of what he wrote was no good. So he only had a few concepts from that initial 88 pages. Did you know he was rewriting Rocky right up to filming? If they're going to film a scene in 2 minutes, he's rewriting the scene.
Wow.
So it really was months, but the general accepted answer is 3 days.
Very
88
good.
pages in 3 days, yeah.
Very good. Very good. Who was originally supposed to be cast as Rocky?
Okay, so you have Burt Reynolds, right? Which we would not be having this conversation right now.
True.
You have Ryan O'Neal, Pretty Boy, okay? You have Don Corleone's son, Sonny Corleone, Jimmy Kahn. He was originally supposed to be Rocky. But that's because they wanted a named actor. Sylvester Stallone is a nobody. Forget about it. Well, he hung out, and here we are.
Yeah, thank God Stallone did the right thing and held out, even though it was crazy at the time.
Do you know who the original Adrian was supposed to be?
No, who was that?
Okay, she's an actress. Her name is Carrie Snodgrass. If you Google, I think it's the first season or second season of The X-Files, Carrie Snodgrass played the mother of an alien abductee, so you'll know who she is. She was also in a Clint Eastwood movie.
Wow.
When she said no, it was going to be Susan Sarandon, Cher, or Bette Midler. They all passed.
Wow.
And then Connie Corleone comes along.
Thank God. It's funny how things work out, and the cast was like perfect casting. I couldn't imagine anybody else as Adrian, and certainly anybody else as Rocky.
Me either.
So who was the character Rocky based off of?
I have to be very careful what I say here. So the consensus that people think of, there are two people. One is Rocky Marciano, okay? And the other is a journeyman club fighter named Chuck Wepner. I'm not going to get too much into the Chuck Wepner story because it's very controversial. What I will say is that Sly told me when he was unemployed, he took the last of his money to go watch a closed circuit television of Chuck Wepner fighting Muhammad Ali. And in the midst of this fight, he saw this guy who should have been knocked out very early. He's in the 15th round battling the champion, and he wasn't supposed to get past the 5th. And he thought, boy, that's a real metaphor for life. On the low end of the scale, Chuck Wepner was a catalyst of sorts for Sly to say, oh, that idea I've been thinking about for 5 years, he's not going to be a cowboy, he's not going to be a mob guy, he's going to be a fighter, because everybody can relate to fighting in their life. So that's my diplomatic answer I will give.
Very good. And what happened to Rocky's brother, Bruno?
Yeah, trick question. No Bruno.
I was just to see if maybe there was a Bruno. I think that you could play Bruno.
I'll tell you. Here's something a lot of people don't know. Sly wrote that Rocky had a brother.
Oh,
of
really?
all the characters in Rocky 1, take a guess. Who was his older brother originally?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Now you got Jimmy Kahn in my head.
Gazzo. Joe Spinell as Tony Gazzo.
Oh, yeah.
Originally, Gazzo was Rocky's older brother. He wasn't called Gazzo, and that's why he kept him around. Not out of sympathy, because they were blood. But the producers and the directors said, no, we want Rocky to be alone. So Sly had to rewrite that scene. And now he became, instead of Tony Balboa, he became Tony Gazzo. Great story.
See that? Wow, I never would have known that if I didn't ask that trick question.
Come to me. I will tell you anything you need to know.
You're the man. All right, so now are you ready for some Zoom theater?
All right, hang on a second. Let me see let me make sure I get my little cards here. I don't really need the cards, you know what I mean? But it's good to have them. Now let's see. Where am I here?
Let me know when you're ready.
I can't see you. Can you see me?
I can still see you. Yep.
You can still see me. All right. You go ahead. You tell me when you're ready.
All right, stand by. Zoom theater, Rocky. This is in the movie Rocky Balboa, and action.
You think I'm hurting you?
Yeah, in a way, you are.
That's the last thing I ever wanted to do.
I know that. I know that's not what you want to do, but that's the way it is. Don't you care what people think? Doesn't it bother you that people are making you out to be a joke, and that I'll be included in that? Do you think that's right? Do you?
You ain't gonna believe this, but I used to feel right here. I'd hold you up to your mother and say, this kid's gonna be the best kid in the world. This kid's gonna be somebody better than anybody I ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful. It was great just watching you. Every day was like a privilege. Then the time come for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face, telling you no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits. Now, pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
And scene. Awesome. That was great. Mike Kunda, everybody. Very impressive, my friend.
I had a lot of fun. This is great. Thank you.
Yes, this was a blast. I really appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody how they could find you, and tell them about your book and
Sure.
YouTube and everything.
Sure. I wrote a book called Cue the Rocky Music, C-U-E, Cue the Rocky Music. Just Google it. It's on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. It's out there. There's a movie about me on Amazon Prime, Tubi Television. It's all over the Venmo. It's Venmo. It's all over the place. It's called The Pretender. And if you're in Philly, or if you're thinking about coming to Philly and you want to see all the Rocky sites, just Google the Yo Philly Rocky Film Tour, or put in that very same name on Instagram. I'm really active on Instagram. Follow me, talk to me, message me. We'll have a great time.
You're the man, Mike. I appreciate it. I'm going to go hit the heavy bag for a little bit, and we will see you soon, my friend.
Thanks, Don. Take care, my friend.
Take care. Thank you.
Hey, y'all. This is Ken Pichelle. You are watching Hood Up, Shut Up, and Stand Up, affectionately known as PUSUSU, here on GOVS Comedy Club Radio, Facebook, YouTube, Boxcast. Wait, Boxcast? We on TV! We on TV, y'all!
Another one.
See the people walking down the street, earbuds in, you know they're listening to GOVS Comedy